The best of Money Matters. The Big Story.
Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Hongbin Jeong. The July 2025 BTO launch will offer around 5,500 flats across a diverse mix of locations, from mature estates like Bukit Merah, Clementi and Toa Payoh to emerging areas like Sembawang North and Simei. Notably, about 1,400 flats in Clementi and Bukit Panjang come with shorter waiting times of under 3 years, while Sembawang Beacon marks the first BTO project in the newly planned Sembawang North neighborhood. Now, this round also coincides with the year's second Sale of Balance Flats exercise, pushing the total SBF supply in 2025 past 10,000 units amid persistent oversubscription and strong demand. So what do we have to know? How will location, waiting time, and affordability shape application patterns this time round? Well, joining us now to tell us more is Lee Sze Teck, who is a Senior Director of Data Analytics at Huttons Asia. Sze Teck, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me on air.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, just to start off here, how does the July 2025 BTO launch compare to previous exercises in terms of scale and strategic location?
The July BTO launches is made out of two. So one will be the BTO, then there's the other component where it's the sale of balance flat. So the BTO portion at about 5,500 flats is actually much bigger than what we had in February. February we have about 5,000. So this we can say about 10% more. So this helps to push out more supply for buyers to consider. But also at the same time, the sale of balance flat is also, I would say, one of the largest that we have seen at 5,000 odd units. So this actually makes I would say, quite a number of buyers who want flats urgently should be quite excited about this.
So what does this launch tell us about the current state of demand, though, in the public housing market?
So in 2025, we have, in a way, supply tightness in the resale market. This is because during COVID time, which was 2020, the construction industry had a lot of start and stop. So many projects were delayed. That, in a way, affected the number of flats that can so-called be completed and the keys handed over to the buyers. So at that point, the impact was just felt then, but now it's transferred over to the resale market because the number of flats that reach MOP in 2025 is about 8,000, which is the lowest in 10 years. So that accounts for supply tightness. So to try to address this and try to so-called take away some of the demand from the resale market, the HDB has to step in with BTO flats and also the sale of balance flats, which they are doing in the July exercise.
Right. So let's dive into this a little bit more here. I mean, about 5,500 BTO flats will also be launched in Bukit Merah, Bukit Panjang, Clementi, Tampines, Toa Payoh, Sembawang, and Woodlands. Which of the July BTO sites do you think will see the strongest demand?
It's difficult to pick. I think a lot of time when we pick, then the market proves us wrong also.
Oh, okay.
But I would say that the Tampines one, which is the one in Simei, that one should see quite a fair bit of demand because like 10 years we do not have a BTO exercise in that area.
Right.
So this time now that we have a BTO, but the downside is that this BTO is one of the smallest in this exercise. There's only, I think, 380 units up for application. So I think that BTO project, we will see quite a high application rate.
Okay, well, we'll dive into Simei in just a bit, but how do you expect application rates to vary between mature estates like Bukit Merah and non-mature areas like Sembawang or Bukit Panjang?
For buyers who are looking at mature estate, so the HDB now has restrictions on buyers who are buying so-called flats in areas more centrally located. So most of the flats in the mature estates are in the central location. So there is restriction on the resale in the future, and the MOP is actually 10 years. So we see that the demand for flats in these mature estates is there because of they have been staying there and the parents are there and so on. So they will apply. But the application rate will not be as high as what we have seen in the non-mature estate. So non-mature estate, probably we can see 3, but in the mature estate, especially say the brand flats, maybe we will see 1 thereabout.
Okay. And one notable thing about this month's launch is that 1,400 flats will have shorter waits of less than 3 years. Now, they are located in the Clementi Emerald Project and Bukit Breeze development over in Bukit Panjang. So, will the shorter wait times change the game for BTO demand, especially among buyers who might have considered resale for faster access?
I think the shorter waiting time is something that is very much welcomed by applicants because they want a flat that they could take possession in a shorter time. That is why we always see the application rates for the sale of balance flat to be extremely high because over there we have flats which are either completed or will be completed soon. And that's where you have that effect of being able to take possession fast. That's where people will consider it favorably against the resale market, and you will take away some of the demand from the resale market over to the either sale of balance flat or to these BTO flats with a shorter waiting time.
Well, is HDB then signaling a shift toward faster delivery times? Could we expect more BTOs with shorter wait times in the future, or are these just exceptions?
They will build more, but we will not say that it's a trend that they will build more and more and more. Because if I were to do shorter waiting time, there is a lot of factors to consider. One is whether the site is ready for HDB to take possession and start building. And also there is also resources constraint also because on the construction industry or even on the financial aspect because HDB need to put in the money first to build. So these are various considerations. But I think that the shorter waiting time is a good idea for buyers.
Well, if more people opt for that, those BTO launches with shorter waiting times, do you expect any pricing pressure on resale flats with immediate occupancy?
So buyers, let's say if I were to apply for a sale of balance flat or I apply for a BTO, it doesn't stop me from still to look around in the resale market. So if I still manage to find something that I like very much, then I could still go ahead to buy that resale flat. Just that I need to cancel my application either for the BTO or the sale of balance flat. Of course, in the meantime, is that if this buyer doesn't do this, the buyer just wait to see their queue number. It means that for, let's say, the shortest from the point of application until you are invited to select the flat is about 3 months. The longest could be a year. So during this period, if the buyer chooses not to go to resale market, you will see that there's so-called lesser number of buyers in the resale market itself. So that, in a way, should ease some of the demand pressure in the resale market now. And hopefully prices will stabilize further in the months ahead.
Well, some 775 flats will also be offered in Sembawang Beacon. Now, this is the first BTO project to be launched in the new Sembawang North neighborhood. So, as the first BTO project in Sembawang North, how appealing is this site likely to be to first-time buyers or upgraders? Do you expect healthy demand for the Sembawang project?
Usually, new housing precincts, HDB will ensure that the area will be well served with amenities. So there will be food centers and all this within the precinct itself. And moreover, although we can say Sembawang North is a new precinct, but the wider Sembawang estate itself is already quite established with schools, with amenities, with even transportation network. We have 2 MRT stations, one at Sembawang, one at Canberra. So this is, in a way, not an entirely new. So buyers are going in knowing how the entire estate is at right now and where they can actually, in a way, get amenities, get the school and stuff. And furthermore, in the future, further north of Sembawang, this Sembawang North estate is the Sembawang Shipyard, which will be developed into a new lifestyle waterfront precinct. So there is a lot of transformation that's going on, and this will benefit the future residents in the future.
Well, on that note then, do you think Sembawang North has the potential to become a growth corridor in the north, similar to what we've seen in Punggol or Woodlands?
I would think so, because Sembawang we are not just looking at the existing, but also in the future. On top of Sembawang Shipyard area, which will become a new waterfront lifestyle precinct, we also noticed that LTA in their LTA Master Plan 2040, they did mention that they are studying the feasibility of a Seletar 9, which will run from Woodlands all the way down to Greater Southern Waterfront. So this 9, if it does come to fruition, one of the stop is actually in Sembawang itself. So that means in the future, we will see that Sembawang will have 3 MRT stations on top of the existing 2 now. So this will actually make the whole place even more accessible and more vibrant, and a lot of more things coming in for residents.
And let's also talk about Simei as well. I mean, we've talked about this earlier. The July launch will also include the first flats in Simei, which HDB classifies as part of Tampines in more than a decade. So is Simei's inclusion after more than a decade of no launches likely to drive renewed interest in the East? Do you expect high competition for the 380 units that will be made available?
Definitely. Because for so long, the buyers or the residents would have stayed there, did not have new flats in the vicinity. So some of them would have moved out of, say, Simei to other parts of Tampines or to the surrounding. But right now, they have the option of continuing to stay in a place they are familiar with. And therefore, I would say that this may see quite a fair bit of applications for the 380 flats. And also, this 380 flats is really, really very little in my opinion. So I don't think this is actually enough to meet the demand for flats in Simei.
Well, other than the BTO exercise here, the second SBF exercise of the year will take the combined supply of such flats in 2025 to more than 10,000 units. In February, 5,590 SBF units in varying stages of completion were rolled out. Now, they were oversubscribed, though, with more than 22,000 applicants for the flats. So given the oversubscription during February's SBF exercise, do you expect a similar inflow of applicants this time round?
SPF exercises will see high application rate and high number of applicants because in a way the flats are either completed or they are going to be completed soon. And this time around, quite a number of the flats in the SPF exercise are already completed. So this makes this SPF exercise even more appealing to a lot of buyers, whether you are first timer or even you are upgrading from an existing HDB flat, because you can literally take possession of the completed flat and immediately once you are successful in selecting the flat itself. So this is really something that will drive more applicants to actually consider the sale of balance flat.
I mean, the part about SBF flats is because they're completed or almost completed, the waiting time is either not there or just a little bit. So do you think that the introduction of more shorter wait BTO flats will kind of siphon off demand from the SBF pool, or is the inflow likely to stay just as strong?
Maybe a bit, but we do not think that it will really help to pull some more demand away from the SPF side, because how we see the thing is that there are just more than about the completion time in buyer's mind. Other thing in buyer's mind is, of course, is that whether they have a higher possibility or the probability of setting a flat. Because in the sale of balance flat exercise, although let's say we have 5,000 flats, but it could spread across multiple locations over the island itself. And some of these also subject to the ethnic integration policy. So it could be, in a way, restricted to certain group of buyers. Whereas in the BTO, the buyers pool itself is actually wider, because let's say you have 500, they will just by proportion you have a bigger number.
Right.
But if you go to the SBF, if I only have 10 units in that particular location that you want, then my supply over there will become very small. So on that, you have a higher chance of actually selecting a flat if you go for a BTO. Of course, the premise is that you have the so-called ability to actually wait a bit longer compared to those who really, really need a journey.
Definitely. Well, Minister for National Development Chee Hong-tat says that these launches are part of the authority's efforts to provide diverse options to meet housing needs and financial budgets of different home buyers, including those who require a flat urgently. What are your thoughts on the launches?
I think the launches this time around, we see a wide range, ranging from say places in the non-mature estate in the north, for example, and to some mature estates in the central location, for example, like Bukit Merah, or even in say popular areas like say Clementi or Tampines, where we usually see very good demand for homes. So this actually gives buyers a lot of options to consider in the market, and they also have policies which they tweak to actually help buyers to, in a way, go in to apply for a flat, especially, let's say, for the younger buyers, because they have the deferred income assessment. So they have relaxed the policy somewhat to allow more to actually take that route to apply for a flat earlier. And this time round in the July BTO, for second-timers, because the application rate for first-timer has stabilized, now they are looking at trying to see how they can help the second-timers who need a bigger space to actually get a higher probability, a higher chance of selecting a flat during a BTO exercise. So the percentage allocation for this second-timer has been increased from 5% to actually 10%. So it's an increase of 5 percentage points. So these are some of different things besides the supply. There's also on the policy front that the government is doing to actually help homeowners or aspiring homeowners to actually buy a home that they like or they want.
Well, overall, Sze Teck, how should buyers be thinking about applying in this round? Should they go for prime locations, or are there better odds in less mature areas?
I would say it's a very personal choice. Because let's say if you have grown up in a certain area and you foresee that you may need parental help or parental support in the coming years, then probably you will look at places where you will be staying nearer to your parents or even to your in-laws, for example. So this is something some buyers may consider. Of course, there will be buyers who don't mind, then they will really consider a more central location itself. And some buyers who do not have really an urgent need for the flat itself, I think some of them may actually wait for the October BTO exercise, because the first BTO project, if I'm not wrong, will come out in the Greater Southern Waterfront. So there will actually, for some people who have been waiting for quite some time because they want to stay there for the long time, is something that they can consider. So it's a balance between what you think that you will need in the future and versus of course, where you want to stay. And lastly, of course, is the budget itself. How much you think that you are able to afford the particular flat in the location itself.
Well, some great insights from you there. Thank you so much, Sze Teck, for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was Lee Sze Teck, who's a Senior Director of Data Analytics at Huttons Asia. This has been The Big Story with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.